Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you today about the term diabetes burnout and also about the idea of parental fatigue or parental diabetes burnout and how I like to address these. Now, diabetes burnout is sort of described as a feeling, a lot of negative emotions towards your diabetes and an avoidance of it, sometimes for a small period of time, sometimes for a long period of time. It's basically feeling overwhelmed and giving up on it. I have done this more times than I can count. For short period of times, for long periods of time. This is what I did almost all of my adolescent years. I was going through a long phase of burnout, but that term wasn't around. The terms that were around were more derogatory towards me as a teen, being lazy or irresponsible, because I wasn't able to manage my diabetes or wasn't willing. Usually I'm a pretty compliant usually I was a pretty compliant kid, happy to help, but for whatever reason, I just hit a block. On this other side of it, now that I'm a parent, now that I'm working with kids and parents of type 1 teens, I have a different sense of how I could have handled it. And that's a big part of what made me write my entire book, was what would have made me stand back up and be willing to brush off the dust and try again and try again and try again. So here's what I would recommend if you're contemplating how to handle diabetes burnout, if you're there, if you're not there, if you're waiting for your kid to be there, or if you're dealing with parental fatigue. That by that I mean fatigue with having to handle your child's diabetes, which will happen. This is what I recommend. 1, expect burnout. Expect it. It's going to happen again and again and again. And just like they say, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get back up. We have to have a way that allows the retreat and the advance of our care with the diabetes, both as the diabetic and as the parent of the diabetic. So number 1, you expect it. Number 2, you build a framework with your kid. And that's one of my favorite things to do. We build a bare bones framework with the kid that they can agree to, that even on a hard day, they are willing to do these things. And when you ask them to build the framework, they feel there's a sense of relief that they have control over how much effort they put into it. They may never need to use this. They may never need to retreat to a bare bones framework, but knowing that it's an option and that you acknowledge that it's okay to have to put down the burden is huge. If I had been given that option, I would have picked it back up again and again, and I would have put it down, I would have picked it back up, and I would have put it down, because what it does is it takes the shame out of it. I'm not at fault for being irresponsible or lazy, although, as kids are, they can be. But that's not what's going on. We're acknowledging that there's something else going on, and we're addressing it proactively. And even if you're in the middle of this right now, you can still totally deal with it. Chit chat with me. I'm happy to help you walk through it. This is what I do with people. I help them get on the same page as with their kids, so that they can figure out how to handle these periods of time that feel immovable to the kid. So that's it. 1, expect it. 2, build a framework, a bare bones framework with your kid that they can agree to, that if nothing else, this is what they're willing to do. Sign a document together. Agree that you will honor that and that they will honor that. Give them some breathing room. And then when you're looking at parental fatigue or parental diabetes burnout, expect it. You are going to get burnt out trying to keep your kid alive. This is a full-time job that your kid has. This is a full-time job that you have. And there's a million different reasons why this is bound to fail, trying to hold this up constantly. Maybe you're stoic enough, maybe you're organized enough that it only happens once or twice. But I say you expect it. And then you build a framework around that. Okay, when I run out of steam, when I'm at my wit's end, what do I need? And that's more sort of an acute situation, like something like if I've hit a wall and I have to do something different, have to hand the baton over to somebody else. You can do it proactively, like every Tuesday, Tuesday evening, I am not the one that gets asked questions about dosing or about food or about planning. That can be just wishful thinking that you could step out from it. I like the idea of if you have the framework with your kid that you can rely on that goes, listen, if I can't be in charge of this, I'm going to let you do this, and it's okay if you have to use your bare bones framework. And here's the crux of it that I think would have really inspired me as a kid is if my mom had said, I'm feeling burnt out by this and I need a break. I would have been so honored by her honesty. And because of course I love my mother, I would have said, okay, I'm going to take care of this and I'm going to do a good job. Now, maybe I wouldn't have always done that, right? But what an honor to have your parent come to you and go, listen, I'm really burnt out by this. It's not your fault, but I got to take a break. And maybe it's only for a day. Maybe it's for a weekend. Maybe it's for whatever, just for 3 hours. But that's a real gift you can give your kids. And it teaches them that it's okay to fall back and to advance. We're proactive about this. We're hardworking. We're kicking ass. And other times we're like, we're just breathing. We're just breathing and we're recuperating. So that's it, folks. That's my take on how to handle burnout from somebody who is well acquainted with it. I hope this really helps you. And if you have any questions, you know you can reach me. My email address is happillyhadea, and that's HADEA, happillyhadea@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.